I still hear the doorbell in my sleep, free knocks that felt like a sledgehammer. It was 3:12 in the morning in a town called Riverbend, Carolina Ridge, and I was barefoot in yesterday's sweatpants, making my way down the hall, thinking it was Tessa, with a goofy story about the gas station line. Instead, a young officer stood there, eyes anywhere but mine. We found someone. Mile marker 39. Female. The rest blurred. I only remember the cold air in the doorway and my knees giving out like the floor vanished. Here's the part folks don't tell you: grief doesn't announce itself with violins. It shows up like a burglar, quiet, clumsy, breaking every bit of you it touches. Tessa had left hours earlier for Creamer and Rosemary. She was planning a surprise dinner, our inside joke to pretend we were fancy. The morning had been easy. Pancakes, a little burned sun splashing across our chipped cabinets, laughter that made the world feel smaller and safer. She kissed my forehead and said, "Be right back." That's all. 3 words that grew teeth later. The official story was neat. Too neat. A tail light stop gone sideways, a resisted arrest, a fall. No dash cam, a technical glitch, a report written like a bedtime story for people who don't want to look too closely. I used to be a federal investigator before my body started voting against sleepless nights. I know the smell of a lie like hot metal and old rain. When I asked to see her, they tried to talk me out of it. I saw anyway. No details here, you don't need them, and I can barely say them. I'll just tell you this: the story on the paper and the story on her skin did not match. I did the polite thing first. Filed what you're supposed to file. Sat in offices where frame flags hung over shrugging men. We take this very seriously. We're reviewing. Then the whisper campaign started. She was emotional, she was uncooperative, maybe she had a past. Tessa, the woman who cut oranges into stars for our son's lunchbox, who kept the spare key under the ugliest garden gnome on earth, that Tessa. The comments online said sad, but she should have complied. I read every word, let them splinter inside of me. The last person who tried to hand me peace was our pastor. He sat at our kitchen table with a hand on a Bible and told me forgiveness would free me. I stared at the coffee ring on the wood and said, "Forgiveness is earned." He looked hurt. I didn't know how to explain that something in me had shifted like a train track lever, pulled hard, and the person who believed in the process was gone. Down in the basement, I unlocked the drawer I swore I'd never open again. Burners, a laptop that still remembered my old habits, a folder with IDs that weren't supposed to exist anymore. I taped up a wall and I started mapping the night. It brought me to 3 names in Riverbend PD: Sergeant Cole Hartman, the polished one who smiled for cameras; Officer Brent Klein, the temper in a uniform; and Officer Eli Ward, the kid who looked like he still bought cereal with cartoons on the box. Force, control, fear. Those were the labels under their photos. You want to know if this is where I lost myself, if the movie trailer music kicks in and I become some comic book vigilante? It wasn't like that. It was slow. It was making lists, drinking black coffee I couldn't taste, learning the rhythm of their lives. Klein drank at a place called the Rusty Anchor until the jukebox cried. Ward checked his rearview mirror like it owed him money and still fed the same stray cat behind his building at a 6:30 a.m. sharp. Hartman went home to a perfect lawn and a house that looked staged for sale, every picture frame, straight, every drawer doing what drawers do. Men don't look like monsters up close. That's part of the trick. The first pushes weren't loud. Klein came out of the bar to 4 flat tires and a photo in his mailbox of him asleep in his truck with a bottle in his lap. No threats, just a circle around the bottle. Ward found a USB drive zip-tied to the stray cat's collar footage from a traffic camera, glitchy, but clear enough to show him standing by while the lights flashed and nothing good happened. His fiancée left 2 days later and he walked like gravity doubled. Hartman woke up to 1 word spray-painted on his Lexus Remember. Not violence, just a mirror. You'd be amazed what a mirror can do to a guilty person. Someone noticed the mirrors. A white sedan started parking across from a little farmhouse I used as a safe spot. 2 nights in a row, same time, same cigarette ember. Then my son called from college, voice shaking. Someone trashed his dorm room, left a note, "Your father makes enemies." I learned there's a special kind of fear reserved for when you realize your fight has bled into your kid's life. I called an old friend from the bureau, no names, and got 2 words: "You're burned." So I burned the safe house first, lit it to the foundation, and left a note where the heat couldn't touch it. A goodbye the press would believe. They ran the story: by afternoon, former agent dies by suicide. Riverbend exhaled. I disappeared. What I did next won't feel heroic. I'm not asking you to clap. Klein spiraled. He would have, with or without me, anger and liquor don't mix, and he'd been mixing them for years. He pulled a gun on a kid for walking too close to his driveway. He got suspended. I left a manila envelope on his porch with the word June on it, the month Tessa didn't come home. He checked himself into a facility after that. He didn't make it out. The report said accidental overdose. I went quiet for a long time after I read it. Not because I felt guilty, because I felt almost nothing. Emptiness is a scar that looks like skin until you touch it. Ward, he got the chair. A storage unit late cold enough to see your breath. No mask. I wanted him to see me. "You know who I am," I said. He didn't nod. He cried. I slid a recorder across the table, red light blinking. "Start with the stop. Every word, every lie." He said Hartman made the call to delete footage before backup even arrived. He said Klein did the pushing, the hurting, the shouting. He said he looked away when Tessa begged and told himself he was too small to stop it. When he was done, he asked if I was going to kill him. I said no. I'm going to make you live with it. I left him there with a heater turned off and a hard drive he knew would bury him and save him at the same time. The confession went online an hour later, anonymous, but people aren't dumb. They put the pieces together. Riverbend changed in a breath. Posters outside City Hall. Hashtags I never asked for. Ward vanished into some witness program in a cheap wig and a new name. Hartman dug in lawyer security statements about ongoing investigations. He moved to a cabin up in the Bluefinch Ridge with 1 road in and 1 road out, like he could outrun air. An old colleague found me before I found him, Agent Laurel Blake's suit shoes crunching on gravel outside the fence line. She kept her voice low. "Don't do this, Dan." "I already did," I said. "You can hand me the truth," she said, "or you can bury yourself with what's left of it." I handed her a drive. Sealed complaints, names they'd buried, a list of the ways the system made itself comfortable while people like Tessa paid. Laurel slid the drive into her pocket and stared at me like she was trying to find my face through the ruins. "Walk away," she said. "Not yet." The door of Hartman's place wasn't locked. Men like him never lock the doors they think the world should open. He was sitting by the fireplace like a man who had aged 10 years in 2 weeks, flask in hand, eyes clear. "Took you long enough," he said. "You remember her name?" I asked. He gave me that little exhausting smile of his. "You think a badge made you good," he said. I kept order. I hit him. I won't dress it up. Once hard enough to remind him bone can still talk. "Say her name," I said. He stared at me. "The way men stare when they realize you're not there to bluff, Tessa," he said, finally, soft as a thread. It snapped something in me and mended something too. My finger floated over a trigger that would have ended everything neat. But I remembered her. My Tessa rolling her eyes when I double parked, or humming when she chopped onions, or squeezing my hand twice in church, our code for "I'm here." "Don't become what you hate," she'd tell me when the news got heavy, so I holstered the neat ending. "You won't die today," I said, "but the lie will." I hit send. Ward's confession. The sealed files. The gap-toothed reports. The autopsy redactions. Reporters. Civil rights lawyers. Watchdogs. The internet turned into a siren. The real ones joined a minute later, crawling up the mountain like a tide that finally remembered how to reach the shore. I sat on the porch with the gun on the plank beside me and my hands open. I didn't run. I didn't monologue. They cuffed me like a person, and I nodded like one. Laurel watched jaw-tight eyes, wet and mean at the same time. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like taking a breath after staying underwater too long, sweet and dizzy and a little painful. What came after belongs to other people's speeches. Department-wide investigation. Federal charges for Hartman conspiracy obstruction accessory. Ward pled out. Klein's photo ended up on a brochure about addiction the county hands out at clinics. Riverbend held a vigil for Tessa, their candles shaking like small, stubborn stars. Folks said her name into microphones that cracked. A scholarship fund opened in hers. A community center got painted with her favorite color, and kids laughed inside it on a Tuesday. The town still has potholes and loud trucks and people who type mean things under headlines, but it also has an aisle at the library display titled "Say Their Names." Her picture is there sometimes. I don't go inside when it is. They gave me 15 years parole possible if a board thinks I learned something I can't say out loud. I pled guilty to everything with my name on it. No speeches. I did what I did. Some nights the cell hums and I press my palm to the wall and pretend I can feel the heartbeat of the town outside. A guard slipped me an envelope, once no return address. Inside was a photo of a teenage girl, black smiling without asking permission, holding a sign that read, "I speak because Tessa couldn't." Under it, a note, "Thank you." I put it in the little locket that came back to me in evidence, the one she wore when we were much younger, and the world seemed much softer. It fit next to our honeymoon picture like it had always belonged there. If you want me to tell you I feel clean, no, I feel honest. I didn't save Tessa. Nobody did. But maybe a girl made it home because a boy in a uniform thought twice. Maybe a rookie wrote the truth in a report because a video lived online he couldn't explain away. Maybe a chief signed a suspension instead of a cover-up because the town learned how to look at a thing straight. I'll live with a lot of maybes. It's the only currency the living get. So tell me, was I right or did I just become another problem to solve? If you think I crossed the line, say it. If you think the line crossed us first, say that too. Tell me where you're watching from. Riverbend is my map dot, but I know your town has its own story. Drop what justice looks like where you live. What have you seen? What have you swallowed? What made you raise your voice or wish you had? I'll be here listening, counting the names under my breath. And if the system falls asleep again, well, some ghosts don't haunt, they guard.